Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Great. My name is Kayla Buchanan. I am in the history department, the history and geography and museum studies department, and I'm pursuing my BA in history. I would like to welcome everybody to the 6th annual Perrin Mitchell Benjamin Quarles African American History Month Convocation, Unbound. The Unbound aspect of this convocation seeks to connect students and alumni together in conversation here on campus. There is greatness within the annals of Morgan's history of accomplished alums who have succeeded in a myriad of disciplines, from sciences to humanities to business to military science. We, the current generation, stand in the shadows of these great Morganites, accept the mantle of Morgan's greatness as we matriculate towards our degrees. Thus, this convocation allows us to fuse Morgan's past with Morgan's future. So students, listen to our featured alum, glean from his experience, and cherish these moments and continue your academic pursuits with dedication and drive. The 2024 National Black History theme is African Americans in the Arts. It is essential that African Americans acknowledge the power, optics, audio, and emotional impact art has within our culture, history, and present being. According to the Asala website, quote, African American art is infused with African, Caribbean, and the Black American lived experience in the fields of visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and other forms of cultural expression. The African American influence has been paramount. It is my pleasure to welcome the in-person and streaming audience into our 6th annual Perrin Mitchell Benjamin Quarles African American History Month Convocation Unbound. So sit back, relax, and prepare to learn something about art, current Morgan talent, impressive alums, and our dynamic faculty, continuing to bring thee our laurels wherever they be. Thank you. So next we will have a performance of Lift Every Voice and Sing by Mr. Trey Hopkins, who is a soloist with the Morgan State University Choir.
Good morning. Lift every voice and sing till open heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we tried, bitter the chestnut ride, felt in the days when hope unborn died, yet with a steady beat have not a weary feet. Come to the place for which our people sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the bright gleam of a bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our the wine of the world get thee, shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you. Let's give him another hand. This year's Black History Month, as you've heard, focuses on the theme of art. And there's quite a lot of artistry in that poem that was set to music and also in the rendition that we just had here from Trey. So thank you very much. I want to just take a few minutes to get us to focus not only just on the theme of art, but also on a larger theme that we're pursuing this year at Morgan. That is looking at the fact that 2024 marks the 60th anniversary of the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That might seem like a long time ago, but some of us were around in 1964. I was a little kid, so I don't remember anything about a Civil Rights Act of 1964, but I do remember what life was like in Georgia, in rural Georgia, in those days. And things didn't automatically change overnight just because a new law said that we had rights guaranteed almost 100 years before. But now this new law said that there could not be any discrimination on the basis of a number of things, including race, gender, creed, religion, when it came to public accommodations. So being able to eat in a restaurant, being able to go to a hotel, all of those kinds of things were now open to us. Jobs were open. And the right to travel between states without either having to sit in the back of a bus or switch to a different car on a train, or even if you're traveling in a family car, having to pull off the side of the road to do your business and to eat your meal out of a shoebox, those chicken boxes that some people think about now. The law said that would all change, but it took time. As I mentioned at the last convocation, the law was passed in, well, let's go back to Brown versus Board of Education that was addressing segregated school system. So that was supposed to change as of 1955. By 1968, I was helping to integrate my school in Conyers, Georgia. By 1977, I was integrating public facilities in rural Georgia. So things didn't change overnight, but the fight continued and it still continues. So don't forget that. I wanted to show a brief bit of this video, if I can, to show you where Morgan was around 1963. And if we get the right clips, it'll show you something about art at Morgan at that time.
Role of America's greatest minority.
Professor Philip Butcher is a recognized George W. Cable scholar. His on the Southern
Are we
novelist
playing it from
have been
here?
published by University Press and trained publishers in its United States Authors Series. 4 Morgan professors have written books that are being used not only at Morgan but also at colleges across the nation and overseas. This is Basic Skills for Better Writing, a manual published by Putnam, now being used in some sections of freshman English. Its authors are Dr. Aaron Ford, English Department Chairman, and Dr. Waters Turpin, Professor of English. Dr. Turpin has also published 3 novels. And this volume, How to Become a Student, is read in the Freshman Orientation Program. Its authors are Dr. Otis D. Froh, Director of Research and Evaluation, and Dr. Maurice A. Lee, Professor of English. Government grants have helped Morgan teachers engage in basic research. Dr. Julius Taylor, Professor of Physics, has
This is talking about the audiovisual program here at Morgan at the time.
goes on outside the classroom, in the complex pattern of student activities. There are about 70 student organizations that provide opportunities for personal growth, creative expression, and just plain fun. These embrace departmental clubs, musical organizations, religious associations, debate, drama, dance, student publications, sororities and fraternities, intramurals, and intercollegiate athletics. As these trophies attest, varsity intercollegiate competition in football, basketball, swimming, wrestling, golf, tennis, track and field has proved rewarding to Morgan's athletes. The school has won 15 conference football championships. That's more than twice the number won by any other school in its association. In track, it has produced Olympic, national, and Pan-American champions, coached by Eddie Hurt. The hub of student activities is the Theodore R. McKeldin Student Union Building, the campus home of the off-campus students. Here, students publish the college newspaper and edit the senior yearbook. And from this office, they run the student government. Morgan teachers are research scientists, artists, writers, professional and educational leaders, consultants to private industry and government, and civic workers. Here you meet teachers like Dr. Benjamin A. Quarles, who is the foremost scholar of today on Negro history. He has done research at the invitation of the John Harvard Library and Oxford University. Dr. Quarles believes research interest in the Negro is growing.
I believe that in the last 10 or 15 years, there's been a marked increase in the interest in the historic role of the Negro in this country. I think this increase stems in part because of the United States leadership in the free world and our commitment to the principles of freedom. I think also the interest in America in non-Western cultures, Asian and African cultures, has had its role. And then I think, too, that the unfinished business of democracy at home, this has created an interest in depth in the historic role of America's greatest minority.
Professor Philip Butcher is a recognized George The Southern Novelist have been published by the Columbia University Press and Twain Publishers in its United States Authors Series. 4 Morgan professors have written books that are being used not only at Morgan but also at colleges across the nation and overseas. This is Basic Skills for Better Writing, a manual published by Putnam, now being used in some sections of freshman English. Its authors are Dr. Nick Aaron Ford, English Department Chairman, and Dr. Waters Turpin, Professor of English. Dr. Turpin has also published 3 novels. In this little volume, How to Become a Successful Student,
and will select an honors program.
Morgan is also contributing to the cultural life of the city through its expanded program in the fine arts. Faculty lectures, plays, concerts, and exhibitions are among these cultural offerings. Here is Professor James Lee Lewis to describe some of the new offerings in art.
The program in the visual arts is a multifaceted one, offering the student an opportunity to major in art education or the fine arts. In addition, we have a gallery program. The exhibition currently being shown is the last in a series of exhibitions that we've had during the school year. In the background, you see works from the permanent collection of the college. I would like to call your attention to 2 recent acquisitions. One is a painting by Joseph Albers titled Red Trio. The other painting is by a local artist, Joan, and the title of this painting is Jink. The experiences of our students are quite varied. This is a class in figure drawing being conducted by Mr. James Jones. We have some other examples of works that have been done by our students from other classes. I'll show those to you. In the department studio experiences cover all of the basic art forms. We have here examples of works from the lettering class, the mechanical drawing class, photography class, which is a part of our graphics program, class in drawing, basic drawing, painting, basic design and color, ceramics, sculpture, and we also encourage our students to use the facilities of the department outside of the classroom situation. And we've had a great deal of success with students developing very well on their own after having had certain basic studio experiences. A number of our students have gone into graduate study at such universities as the University of Pennsylvania and Yale University, and they've had a great deal of success. We are very happy to have had a part in their development.
The Morgan Music Hall,
Well, do that. I think that's the choir.
series of Sunday afternoon concerts, presents outstanding musical artists. But a regular concert is the college choir, now conducted by Assistant Professor Joseph Banks.
So that was the Morgan Choir. Morgan looked quite different then, but you can see that the spirit of Morgan was the same as what we have today. Say a few other things. One, you saw James Lewis. You all know the museum. Hopefully, you know the museum. And now you see the real person for whom it was named. He created the Frederick Douglass statue that we have here, as well as other works around the city of Baltimore. And Charles Stallings created a mural that celebrates the progress of Black people at the time they came onto the shores of what became the United States through 1950 when Ralph Bunche won the Nobel Peace Prize. Does anyone know where that mural is today? Does any student know where the mural is today? That's kind of a trick question, but it's here in the Student Center. Just look up. I won't say more. Well, Harry Belafonte, who was born in Harlem and became a citizen of the world, the actor and activist who died last year at age 96, said the following: "Artists are the gatekeepers of truth. We are civilization's anchor. We are the compass for humanity, for humanity's conscience." So with that in mind, I will now cede the floor to our MC, and she will introduce the rest of the program.
Thank you so much, Professorship. Okay, so I'm now going to introduce our interviewee. E.L. Briscoe was born in Charles County, Maryland, and attended Charles County Public Schools and went on to attend Charles County Community College. He then got his BA from Morgan State University in 1996 and went on to get his MFA at Howard University in 1998. Briscoe was also professor in visual arts and the coordinator of a visual arts program in the Department of Fine and Performing Arts at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, and has artwork in the collections of the Driscoll Center, the Jean Robert Steele Collection of African American Prints, and the African American Museum of Art in Dallas, Texas. If you would, please come to the stage. And could the interviewees please come to the stage as well? Ms. Oni and Mr. Harrison Williams. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for all of that. I wanted to actually start with one thing that I'm glad you didn't see me when I was in the front, but I was kind of giggling and smiling at something. Some of the students in the art department, you may actually have noticed something in the video. There was a model in the center of the video while James Lewis was speaking. The platform that the student was sitting on, or the model was sitting on, we still have that and still use it to this very day. It's still here since way back when. Aside from that, you couldn't see James Jones. When I transferred to Morgan as a student in 1991, James Jones was my first professor. And he is also the individual who our most recent award has been named after Sister James Jones Art Award, painting, I think it is. So he's extremely important. Still very much working, still much, a part of our family. So I wanted to put that out there and make that very clear. But so again, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me this platform. Um, like I said, I transferred from, like was said, I was transferred in 1991 to Morgan after going to junior college for about 2.5 years. I remember the date vividly. It was December 23rd, 1990, was the day that I moved to Baltimore. The very moment that I put things down, I immediately left and went to campus because I was so excited. Okay. This had been, attending Morgan had been my dream. My family, I have approximately 7 or 8 relatives who actually went to Morgan. My sister went and graduated from Morgan. My aunt and godmother, she graduated from Morgan. So it was almost like a rite of passage for me to actually come to Morgan. And so I was completely and totally proud to actually be here. So I was very disappointed because, of course, December 23rd, 1990, there's nobody on campus. It was cold. I felt like a fool, but I was still happy. So then I had something to actually look forward to. So then the semester began, and I started my matriculation here. Um, I didn't realize it, but when I transferred to Morgan, like I said, I was here for 2.5, junior college, 2.5 years. So by that time, I should be a junior. I was a freshman. I found out that I was a freshman spring of 1995 upon deciding that, hey, I've been here a long time. Maybe I should graduate. So that's when I discovered, I've been here 4 years. It did not seem like 4 years. I was in an environment with individuals who made their primary choice to come to Morgan. We had conditions that were not ideal, which is why back in, I believe, 93, there was a protest. There was another protest earlier on. But the beautiful thing about that protest was the individuals were not protesting against Morgan. The focus was actually the funding that Morgan was getting. I remember sitting in the library with those large fans that stood taller than you were, blowing constantly, okay? Because it was hot, we had no AC, okay? We had heaters, or we didn't really have heaters. We were cold. So what do? We put on coats, but we were in class. Sometimes when it rained in the building, okay? But we still were there. So because there was something extremely important about us actually being there and being a part of this place and being family. Again, we made it our primary choice. So when you have something as your primary choice, and I tell this to students often, when you make something your primary choice and things happen that are not necessarily the greatest. I use the example, your food that you get is not what you wanted. If this is not your primary choice, you start saying, oh, see, I know I shouldn't come here because the food is bad. But if your primary choice is come here, you realize, okay, today the food's bad, but I'm going to be full. It'll be better the next time. We look forward to things. Okay, so it was a whole different expectation. So again, that choice was extremely important. I saw everybody around me that were here for the same reasons. So after some odd time, I graduated into professorship a little while ago and said that I've been separated from Morgan since 1991 for only 3 years. Okay, and that was when I went to graduate school. So after I graduated, August of 1998, I came here and I was given the opportunity to actually work in the art department. And with the exception of a few months, I've been full-time employee at Morgan and worked through the art department and the Murphy Fine Arts Center until this very day. So it's just kind of amazing to me that I've been here for 25 years. Having the opportunity to come back and actually be colleagues with people who were my professors is mind blowing. To be able to be here and my students, or our students, come back and become colleagues, it's amazing. Okay, to be colleagues with people that I went to school with. There are people who are working here to this very day who were classmates of mine. Those things are beautiful. So that's the type of thing that we want for the students who are here now, the students who are going to come afterwards. for the students who are here, your opportunity, your responsibility is to actually take on and stand on the shoulders of the individuals who came before you and push that message, push that culture, push it forward. Do what you are here to do and then pass it on. So that would be, just my little spiel right out of the gate. But thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olajumoke Oni, and I am a junior multi-platform production major from the gorgeous Prince George's County, Maryland. And my first question would be to just kind of describe the atmosphere of Morgan during your experience.
Um, my experience was kind of interesting. Also, full disclosure, when I first applied to Morgan, I did not actually get accepted. It was heartbreaking. But the reason I wasn't accepted is because I had yet to take my education seriously. I had yet to find a reason to do the work that I was asked to do. Once I found that, after being denied, um, it was a new world. So the educational experience and attitude was a lot different at that point because this was not a I'm coming to class and I'm leaving and going home. It was I'm coming to this place, this school, and I'll leave when I'm done. That is the attitude that we actually had. So the experience was the campus was always occupied. My memories of the university and the campus was there were always people just out on campus doing things. Um, we talked a little bit about some of you are familiar with something called bridgeology. So the chuckles are the people who have been here as long as I have. Bridgeology meant something different then than it does now. And a joke that I kind of tell a little bit every now and then is when you're walking across the bridge, if you stop and you listen closely, you can hear the GPAs hit Cold Spring Lane as they fall. Um, I walked across campus to other classes very often, of course, multiple times in a day. But I would get to the Welcome Bridge. And mind you, the Welcome Bridge, when I was a student here, the title didn't make sense to me. It's in the middle of campus, but it's not named after Verda Welcome. So you're welcome. Um, so, so I would walk across campus and I would get to the bridge. There was once when I actually stopped because there was a classmate of mine that was there and we started talking. I was on my way to McMecken, to a computer lab in McMecken. I stopped to talk to her just because. Next thing you know, 45 minutes had passed. So I turned around and went right back to Murphy. It's like, there's no use going now. Okay, it's probably closed. So from that day forward, when I got to the bridge, I would make a left and go down the ramp and go across Cold Spring Lane and up the steps near Truth Hall. Why? Because I had some place to be and I had things to do. Also, at that time, you could actually stop and hang out on the bridge and talk, which is a no-no now. Okay, we just would do that, and the bridge was just intimidating. I was intimidated by the large group of people that were on the third floor of McKeldin because everybody knew each other. Everybody was having a good time, and I'm like, that's not me. I'm the introvert. So it was always lively. It was always action. There was always people doing things. So that was the beautiful thing when I think back on it. I kind of wish I had taken part a little bit more, but I'd have probably been a freshman for a lot longer had I actually stopped on the bridge. So I'm glad I kind of kept it moving. So self-preservation.
Oh, hello. My name is Joshua Harrison Williams. I'm a senior multimedia journalism major from Gwinnett County, Georgia. My first question is, how did Morgan prepare and allow you to express your art instead of boxing you in and kind of dulling down what you want to do?
From the outside looking in, individuals tend to think art education or to be in the art theater choir. Oh, in theater, that's just a place where you get to kind of just act out on stage. The choir, oh, they get to sing because they were born with it. The art department, visual art, you just draw pretty pictures. There's nothing from the outside looking that there's nothing scholarly about it. There's nothing practical. There's nothing practicing. Um, I was challenged right out of the gate. For the first time, nonsense was called out. Okay. James Jones had a conversation with, it was a drawing class. It was me and three other students. And sometimes, you're in a classroom and you have someone in the classroom that is just on their own time. And that individual sometimes will agitate the professor. So it was one of those days, and Donald was doing his thing. And so very calmly, James Jones stopped his lesson, what he was talking to us about, and began to lecture us. He was very, very calm. Anyone who has ever known James Jones, you know that his demeanor is very laid back, very calm. No raising a voice, anything like that. And so he went on, he spoke to us about 30 minutes, quietly reading us the riot act. Okay. And I say us, but it wasn't us that was causing distraction. It was Donald. But we were in the classroom and we needed to hear what he had to say about Donald or to Donald. So we all felt it. And then at the end, and I keep it clean, James Jones said, okay, next time we come in here and I ask you for something, don't bring me no. And he laid out the BS. He spelled it out loud and clear. And I completely stood up like, well, wait a minute. I've never been addressed like that in the class, except for one time situation. But it was serious. We were not there to play. We had a good time. We loved each other. We stayed in around with each other. We had poetry readings. We did all types of things art related, but it was serious. And that was the way that we were prepared to actually go out here and do more, to critically think, to learn what your abilities are, and therefore to advance your abilities beyond what they were. And we knew very clearly, without it being said, that we were being taught and told these things because the individual who was telling us cared. They had a personal stake in our success. And if we did not succeed, then they didn't feel that they had succeeded. And so what that did was made us think that if we don't succeed, we have now let this individual down. And that is the last thing we wanted to do. So that was pretty much it.
So the national treasure, that's where we are, right? So was there any particular place that you would seek when it came to like your inspiration as far as your art was concerned?
Um, my goal when I was here, so we have, standards. We have, people we idolize. The first, we'll call it competition, which is not really competition, like we're trying to defeat this individual. Um, when I'll give you a perfect example, twofold. After I'd been here for a while, we were in the classroom in between classes working, and there was someone in the studio next door. And I had passed the door a few times, didn't realize who it was, didn't recognize him. There was a student who had transferred in quietly, but he came in and he started getting busy. Checked him out, but I looked kind of sort of over his shoulder and saw what he was working on. And my eyebrows kind of like, so that's what we're doing. Okay. So that's what the standard is. So from that moment forward, I'm like, okay, I see what he's doing and it's strong. So I now have to up my game. Okay. That individual was Ernest Shaw, who has been a long time brother of mine. We were here together. We went to the same graduate school. We had the same studio. And there were others just like that. But when we saw someone excelling, that told us that we need to excel as well. We need to up our game. We need to do something different. So the first standard bearer is going to be your classmates. But in certain situations, you become, let's call it the top of the class, or you say that you're excelling. Well, then your standard is your professors. So our standards, our competition, so to speak, were then our professors. So we're looking at what they did and thinking, okay, I need to get where you are. I need to help we need to help each other get to where our professors are. And ironically, our professors wanted us to get to where they were as well. And I've taken on that same kind of attitude, whereas I want you to get where I was at your age, but I want you to get there faster than I did. I want you to be able to get past the hurdles. I want you to learn the lessons before I did, because I learned things slowly. I matured slowly. There was a lot of information coming at me. I didn't know what to do with it. But at a certain point, I started to figure it out. I'd love for the students that we have to kind of understand that a lot faster than we did, which is kind of difficult now because of the nature of society now. Information goes so fast; it's difficult to really deal with it because of social media and the internet and all of that. We had the advantage of having to leave to go to the library to look things up. So the first stop in the library was a card catalog. Then you go upstairs, you look for it. You don't find it. So what do? You have to go back downstairs to the card catalog. You find it again. And then you finally discover that the thing you need is here in the card catalog. And then you find out that someone has taken the card out of the card catalog and taken it with them. But you still had to do it. So we had the benefit of actually having to earn the information, whereas now a lot of the information is like thrown at everybody. And that makes it kind of difficult.
Let's jump back before Morgan a little bit. Where did your passion for art come from? Where did you begin to want to know that this is what you wanted to do?
Fourth grade, I was sitting in class in school. However, whatever grade you are when you're in the fourth, I mean, however old you are in the fourth grade, 9, 8, 9, it's a long time ago. So I don't know what we're doing, but we're kind of gathered near the teacher's desk. And I looked to the side of the cabinet that's next to her desk, and there was a picture, an illustration of Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. And I looked at it, and for whatever reason, I drew Russell. And I looked at it, and ooh, that looks like Russell. I did that. So because of that, I said, well, maybe I'll do this again. So I drew, um, I forget his name, the tall, skinny one. I drew him. So I just started drawing. I'm like, I can do this. I am lucky to have been in a family that was artistically inclined in some way. The majority of my family were musicians. My father were in a band. Uh, One of my cousins who actually went here was on the choir. This is the environment that I grew up in. So I had a group of people who were very, very supportive of what I was doing. Um, I hear a lot of people say, students say that, they wanted to be an art major, but their parents were like, no, you're not doing that. I'm so lucky to never have had that experience. My family has always supported what I wanted to do. And that allowed me to kind of explore, and they paid attention to what I was doing. They supported it. Um, that's where it came from. And from that day forward, um, it was art class after art class after art class. And because of the environment that I grew up in, like my first art teacher in middle school ended up being the same art teacher that my mother and father had when they were in school, which blew my mind. So it was all of those things, in tandem. So it was natural. It was easy to actually stay in the arts.
So let's bring it back to the present, and you're currently a professor. So, what are some goals that you made it your mission to implement that you saw the need for, being that you were an undergrad student or undergrad student here at Morgan?
The majority of what I do, um, so when I'm harassing students in class, it's not my fault. It was my teachers. It was my professors. Blame them, okay? Because that is how I fashioned um, my perspective, okay? Um, but I also looked at the fact that today people are different, so the communication needs to be different. So I take bits and pieces of things that work today and things that don't. One of the things that I think about when I was a student that actually is directly affecting me today, and beyond anything else, I think I had some great professors. I really did. But ironically, one of the lessons or one of the attributes of my day-to-day attitude in class is an experience that I had when I was an undergraduate. Um, I'm on my way over to Holmes Hall. I go in because I'm going to English. And as I'm going to the building, it's eerily quiet. I don't see people as I usually do. Okay. But I knew my job, my responsibility was I have English, I have to go to English. Um, as I'm walking down the hall, I'm still not seeing any people, but it never registered to me why there were no people in the hallway. It was I Love Morgan Day. And as students tend to do, students, even when I was a student, tend to create these rules that says, oh, all classes are canceled on I Love Morgan Day. No, they're not. So when one student says it, the next student believes it. So they all believed it, but guess who didn't get the message? Okay. So I'm walking down the hall and I get going Holmes Hall. This is before they redid Holmes Hall, which a lot of you don't know they redid Holmes Hall. I go into Holmes Hall, make a left by the elevator, go to the end of the hall, and I quietly look around the corner in the classroom. And there is Dr. Minnie Washington sitting at her desk, looking right at the door. So I met eyes with her. It's over. I'm now in class. Okay. But she then gave me, and this was a Friday, she gave me a one-on-one lesson. And mind you, she kept me the whole time. Okay. The whole time. Just me and Dr. Washington. But she gave me all of the information that I needed in order to test that we had on Monday that I did not know. um, so, I did pretty well on that test. So fast forward, I'm not perfect. So at the end of that we part ways. I didn't have her anymore. Fast forward, um, around 98, 99, I'm walking past Truth Hall. I see Dr. Washington. She looks at me and she smiles and she says, "Oh, my star student." And it blew my mind. And the reason it blew my mind is because I got a C. Star students don't get C's. I got a C. But the reason that kind of affected me is, number one, because she remembered me. Number two, she understood, I guarantee you, that a C is not a star. But she remembered that day that I came to class. She remembered that I never missed class. That was extremely important to me. And so I look back on all of the lessons and such, and she was no nonsense. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful soul. Okay. She was no nonsense. But in that no nonsense, you knew that she loved every single one of the people in that room and cared about them. That is what affects greatly my day-to-day teaching. Okay. So again, don't blame me. Blame Minnie Washington.
One other question I got for you is, when did your art start to reach heights outside of Maryland, more specifically places like the African American Museum in Dallas?
Oh, chance. That specific one, there was a competition at this museum. And actually, I was shown that opportunity by Mr. Tanabe when I was actually working here. And there was a competition. So I went ahead and put something in it. And I was completely and totally surprised that I got the purchase prize award for that particular work. Um, that was probably my very first major, I'll call it artistic accomplishment. The very first one. I've been in exhibitions and such, but um, it's something to have someone who doesn't know you from a can of paint to look at your work and say that this is it. This is deserving of this award. Um, that was extremely important. Um, but that should be just something that kind of pushes you to reach further, to continue to do what it is that you actually do. We are in the fine arts department, and we don't tend to think about the whole name fine arts. Fine means sharp, thin, exacting. It comes from refine. So art is repeated because The work that you do is completely and totally connected to the moment in which you're actually living and experiencing. You refine that. So you go back into the next day. You can try or you might to actually do the same thing, but that is now informed by the events of yesterday. So you have to continue to refine yourself over and over and over. And the art part is art means to be. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou? Means why are you? It means it's a verb, it's an action. It needs to be repeated over and over and over again. It needs to be a commentary on what's happening today, because in the future, people are going to look back at the arts, not just to see names, dates, place, and time, but they're going to look back at the arts to understand the temperature of the people and the culture at that moment. That is why it needs to be taken seriously. Okay. You need to understand how people are feeling, what makes people do what they do, so that it will be there. And I think we need to take that very, very, very seriously. So the professional aspect is um, really about just reaching out and taking the opportunities. And if I had not taken that opportunity that was put out to me, I wouldn't have been a part of that. The other collections, and it was, I met this individual, I had a conversation with them, they understood my work, they understood what was going into it, and therefore it ended up in their collections. And through those interactions is how it gets into the Driscoll Center, and how it gets into the Lewis Museum, and so on and so on. That's pretty much how it actually happens for me specifically.
I see Dr. Jones. Are we wrapping up? Are we going to do Q&A? Okay.
Okay, so speaking of places where your art is, what does having your art displayed in James E. Lewis Museum, housed right here in your alma mater, what does that mean to you?
It's home. I'll say this, and it might sound like it's not related, but it is. There was a time when Howard's homecoming and Morgan's homecoming was on the same day. Um, there was no question about where I was going to homecoming. I was here, okay, because this is home. This is where you were raised. This is where you really took time to engage and all of that. And even though my experience at Howard was beautiful, it was not like it was when I was here. So to actually have it in the collection um, is special. And when I was working in the museum, when I would go into the storage area, um, I would pass by it, and I didn't put it in this area, but I would pass by it, and it was almost like it would actually kind of call to me every time. I refer to your engagement with art, uh, or in a gallery, or just in a room. It's a silent dialogue between you and something else. Cherish that communication. As one of my professors said once, she named a piece, praise the bridge that carries you over. And that particular piece is almost like that bridge. Never forget that you're here. And as it says in this book, Art and Fear, you can never step into the same river twice, for other waters are ever flowing onto you. But you always remember that source. And that's kind of what that means to me. You know, this is where I got started professionally. Okay. This is where I got the opportunity for the first time. To have my work there actually means quite a bit.
Now we have time for a few questions, if there are any in the audience.
If you have a question, you can come to the front and I'll hand you the mic so you can ask a question. Do you have any questions? Yes, can you kind of come forward? We're being recorded on Zoom, so we need to. Hate to make you dig yourself out.
Hi, my name is Malaya Mason. I'm a freshman political science major from Baltimore, Maryland. Would you say, especially knowing like Morgan's revolutionary history, that you use that as inspiration for your art as well?
Yes. But more so in the sense that when things happen, I lean on the experiences that I had when I was here. A lot of the work that I actually do currently is a direct result of engagements and conversations and communications that I have, mainly with my students. As a matter of fact, a lot of the work that I do, the work are my students. And it is because of Morgan that we are making that connection. So like it's almost like it's inextricably connected. You can't have one without the other. Is it evident? Is it in your face in the work? Not necessarily. Um, but aside from that, the majority of the time when I'm working, when I'm creating, I'm doing it right here in Murphy. And I make it a point in my social media posts and things, when I do tag it, this was done here. So you can look at a lot of, if you looked at any of my social media, you can see that it specifically says Morgan State University. I hashtag Morgan State University. I make sure that people know where I am, where I came from, and what is still actually happening here.
Any other questions? Yep, I see a question.
Hi, Anita.
Hey, Briscoe. It's great to see you. Thank you. And to hear you today. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about conversations we've shared, but talk a little bit about the connections you see between art and mental health.
Absolutely. I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to early on understand the connections between disciplines, but especially with psychology, sociology, um, and often, like I said, art literally means to be. Okay, what is it like to be? Like in terms of a state of being. So when you're creating artwork, you're actually addressing perspective. Perspective in terms of physically, where am I in relationship to you or the situation, or emotionally, mentally, where am I or where is this individual in relation to others? So it's extremely important for people that are in the arts to use it to communicate who you are, how you are, why you are. Okay. There are a lot of people who are in the arts because they need to address, or they find a way, or they discover that it is extremely beneficial to them to be able to release the things that are on their heart and on their minds. If it wasn't for that very thing, all of that stuff would be bottled up inside. So what we talk about sometimes is when someone says, I have to get something off my chest, pay close attention to that statement. Why do you have to get it off your chest? And so, and I'll wrap it up by saying this. When I was finishing graduate school, one of my professors, Skanda Bogashian, came up to me and said, what does the tear mean to you? He said that because I was painting on different pieces of paper and I was tearing them into pieces and reassembling those together. And so I just finished defending my thesis. I got very MFA on him. I was like, oh, it's the drastic starting and stopping of images in my mind. Da, da, da. He's like, no, no, no. And he used many expletives, but he's like, no, 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 no. What does it mean to you? And he stumped me. So I didn't know what to say. He's like, that's okay. You might find out in 5 days, 5 years, 5 months, whatever. But when you find it out, when you figure it out, let me know. And then I discovered it was anger. I was very angry at the time, okay, at stuff. So the clarification came because I was confused because, but I feel good when I see that. But see, the reason I felt good is because the anger, the angst, whatever it was that was in me, I now see it physically outside of myself. It's there. It's no longer in here. That's where the relief came from. So when people act of creating, the act of producing, it's release, release, release. And it's almost like a therapy session. You have to kind of bounce it off of other people. So in mental health, mental disparities and all types of things, you have to be able to actually engage in that communication. It's almost like a therapy. That's what I would consider the connection to be. And I think that's why it's so important for multiple people to actually engage in that type of activity, because everybody needs to release something. Okay. And when I got married, I was like, I want to go out and tell everybody that I got married. Hey, I got married, perfect strangers. But I never did it. But keeping that inside of me didn't do any damage. But if I kept the things inside of me that were problematic, that can do physical damage to you. You have aches. We talked about recently, the stress in your shoulders and things of that nature. So that's the engagement. That's the connection between, the arts, mental health, and all of those issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, we have spent the hour. I want to thank our interviewee, Professor Briscoe, for his salient comments, as well as our interviewer team from the School of Global Journalism. I'd be remiss if I don't thank the provost. Provost Hugh was here, as well as Dean Engum. We want to thank you both for staying the entire time to be with us today. I don't know if you have any comments or statements you'd like to share, but your presence means a great deal to us. I want to thank the art department. I see a number of faculty here, along songs and visual arts. I see some English literary arts. Is there any other artists in the room here? Yes, okay, wave your hands. Thank you for what you do. It's all part of the overall wellness of the human being. So I want to not belabor the hour, but I want to just thank our audiovisual team as well, Mr. Moore and Mr. Nixon and the others who do the work behind the scenes, trying to get me to push buttons I don't know how to do, so I do apologize. But the footage you saw is actually a film that Professor Shipp's class excavated from University of Baltimore. It's a visit to more work that you're doing down there in the communications school. I want to thank our MC, Miss Kayla Buchanan from the Department of History. She did an excellent job. We didn't even have a run through, but she did an excellent job. I'm going to bring back Mr. Hopkins, Mr. Trey Hopkins, who did an excellent, just a cappella with personality and artistic flair. So he's going to bring us the alma mater. And we did not show the other reflections on Mitchell-Quarles. That was another video done by earlier journalism students, but we're going to do better next year and continue to grow. I see some alum as well. I believe Judge Bell is here. And I mean, Mr. Tanabe is also another kind of alum. Judge Bell, Robert Bell is with us here, and Mr. Pace McConkey as well from the Bell Center. Everyone's important, so thank you for being here. Mr. Hopkins, if you can, just close us out with the alma mater. I'd greatly appreciate it. Take your time. Thank you, sir.
If y'all can stand. Fair Morgan, we love thee, so tried and so true. Our hearts that thy name thrill with pride. We owe thee allegiance, we pledge thee our faith, a faith will ever abide. We pledge thee our love, we pledge thee our faith, whatever the future may bring. And fidelity to and homage we pay as we sing. Fair Morgan, as onward the years quickly fly, and thou livest memory sweet. We bring thee our laurels, whatever they be, and lay them with joy at thy feet. We pledge thee our love, we pledge thee our faith, whatever the future may bring. And thus our devotion, fidelity to and homage we pay as we sing.
We're formally dismissed. Thank you so very much.